여러분 반갑습니다. I'm Kwon So-wa and this is K-Culture Dive. Join us in exploring everything in Korean culture, from K-entertainment to AI news, K-culture and photos, and we'll have a talk with a novelist who brings Korean folktales to the world. And with that, let's dive in. Joining us this Wednesday is Walter Lee. Happy Wednesday, Walter.
Happy Wednesday, Soa, and hello to everyone joining us on K-Culture Dive today. I'm Walter Lee, here to co-host alongside Soa and bring you the latest in K-entertainment stories.
So, Walter, we've got boy groups on our K-Enter agenda today. So who shall we start off with?
Let me think. Let's start off with NCT WISH, who have further cemented their popularity in Japan by earning their first platinum certification. Now, according to the Recording Industry Association of Japan this week, the group's Japanese double A-side single, Yoidon, and Boy Meets Girl surpassed 250,000 cumulative shipments in July, earning platinum certification. The single had already enjoyed a strong start, topping the Oricon Daily Singles Chart upon its release, while Yoidon reached number 3 on the Billboard Japan Hot 100. Now, the achievement highlights NCT WISH's growing presence across both physical sales and digital charts in Japan. NCT WISH are set to appear on TV Asahi's music station on August 28th, where they will perform Boy Meets Girl.
Okay, and let's go to another boy group, BTS, because they are making milestones week by week.
Yes, they are indeed. So BTS have once again demonstrated their unrivaled global presence with another major achievement on Billboard's Hot 100. Now, we're talking about Swim, the lead track from the group's latest album, Arirang, ranked number 91 this week, extending its run in the chart to 20 consecutive weeks, debuting at number 1 in April. Now, the milestone ties the 20-week Hot 100 run of another BTS song, Butter, further highlighting that remarkable staying power of Swim. The track is still performing strongly on Billboard's global charts, ranking number 4 on Global excluding US and number 12 on Global 200. Now, meanwhile, the BTS album Arirang maintained its momentum on the Billboard 200, Billboard's main albums chart, climbing 1 spot to number 14.
And while BTS is making achievement after achievement, their little brothers, Quartz, are making history for themselves as well.
Indeed, they are, so it certainly seems that way because also, according to the Billboard 200's latest chart, Quartz's second mini album, Green Green, climbed to 39, jumping a whopping 75 spots from 114 from the previous week. Now, the album has now spent 13 straight weeks on the chart, extending its record as the longest charting album by a K-pop group that debuted within the past 5 years. Now, Green Green also ranked number 1 on the World Albums chart and number 2 on Top Album Sales, while Quartz rose to number 34 on Billboard's Artist 100. It's reported that the sharp rebound was largely driven by the success of the group's sold-out North American tour, as well as strong demand for Quartz's Ball version merchandise album, which sold out shortly after its local release. Meanwhile, Quartz recently surpassed 15 million followers on Instagram following the group's performance at Lollapalooza Chicago. This was also setting a new record as the fastest K-pop group to reach that milestone.
Well, congratulations to all those milestones, and thank you very much, Walter, for those updates.
No worries.
All right, now let's go over to our AI anchor Arang for more on the culture front. Arang.
Thanks, Swa. Here's your AI guide to the latest cultural headlines from Korea. Let's begin with our top story. Gyeongbokgung Palace, regarded as the grandest of the Joseon Dynasty's royal palaces, will open its gates at night for a special event. The Gyeongbokgung Starlight Tour will take place from September 2nd to October 24th, every Wednesday through Sunday, allowing visitors to join a guided tour of the palace after dark. Highlights include a visit to Gyeojodang, the Crown Prince's quarters, royal dining at Wesojubang, the palace kitchen, and a tangak performance telling stories of King Gojong Achibokje, once used as the king's library. The event will be held twice a day, with spots allocated by lottery. Applications open on Ticketlink this Friday. Nighttime Hangang River bus services will be expanded starting this Saturday. Additional buses will depart Jamsil for Yeouido at 6:50 and 7:20 p.m. and Yeouido for Magok at 8:25 and 8:55 p.m. The expansion aims to make evening travel along the river more convenient, while giving people more time to enjoy the river's nighttime scenery. It's also expected to boost spending at nearby businesses and revitalize the nighttime economy. Seoul City officials say the expanded services will let passengers discover the unique charm of the Hangang River, illuminated by its glittering nighttime views. Nighttime drone shows over the Hangang River drew 125,000 spectators in the first half of this year. According to the Seoul City government, 43,395, or about 34%, were international visitors, meaning roughly 1 in 3 spectators were foreigners. The shows also gave a boost to nearby businesses. Card sales around the venues rose at an average of 17% on show days, with sales around Tukseom Hangang Park, in particular, jumping by nearly 40%. The drone light series kicked off in April at Yeouido Hangang Park with a BTS-themed show, followed by multiple shows at Tukseom and Jamsil Hangang Parks. That's all from me. Turning now to a quick look at more K-culture stories making headlines today.
Through a single photo at a time, we take a closer look at culture in Korea. This is K-Culture in Photos. The word on the screen is Gwangbokjeol, or Liberation Day, a national holiday marking Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule in 1945. This Saturday, August 15th, marks its 81st anniversary. On Gwangbokjeol, even the city is getting into the spirit. The Seoul Dream Wall, a large message board on the Seoul Metropolitan Library, features a special message. The coolest day of 1945, when the wind was filled with taegukgi flags. Meanwhile, Korea stationery brand Monami and the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs have released special edition stationery commemorating the anniversary, while the Kia Tigers are marking the occasion with a special uniform inspired by independence activists and the taegukgi flag. And history is still being uncovered. A Chinese collector recently donated 12 anti-Japanese resistance materials to the Independence Hall of Korea, including a newspaper featuring a statement from Kim Gu's Korean Patriotic Organization, revealed in Korea for the first time. When Liberation Day approaches, the streets across Korea are filled with the colors of the taegukgi. From actors dressed as independence activists marching with taegukgi flags, to children waving flags, singing and moving together in a joyful parade, these celebrations bring history to life for people of all ages. And the taegukgi can appear in all kinds of places, from colorful pinwheels decorating fountains and gardens to a giant taegukgi tree at the Independence Hall of Korea. And if you want to see many of these Liberation Day sites in one place, Gwanghwamun is one of the most iconic spots. From large-scale flag marches to rows of taegukgi flags in front of Gyeongbokgung Palace, the area becomes a vivid reminder that Liberation Day is not only remembered in the history books, it is also something people experience together out on the streets. And now, speaking of Gyeongbokgung Palace, even under the scorching summer sun, this historical palace remains one of Seoul's most popular places to visit. Families and visitors of all ages fill the palace grounds, taking photos, exploring the architecture, and enjoying the open views of the royal palace. And look closely, you'll spot plenty of international visitors in hanbok. Wearing traditional Korean clothing in this heat is no easy task. So why do they do it? For many, it's part of making their visit to Gyeongbokgung feel even more special and, of course, making memories in Korea. And here's Gwanghwamun Gate, the main gate of Gyeongbokgung Palace, where visitors often stop for that perfect photo, especially with Seoul's deep blue summer sky as a backdrop.
Despite the heat, people still come to see the palace, dress up, take photos, and experience a piece of Korea's royal past. It's a place where history and today's Seoul meet under the same summer sky. It may still feel like the middle of summer, but nature is already showing signs that the season is beginning to turn. First, these bright green apples are one of the special tastes of the Korean summer, crisp and pleasantly tart. They have a relatively short season, making them a little mid-to-late summer treat. And for farmers, this is harvest time, a moment to see months of hard work finally pay off. Meanwhile, the rice fields are quietly changing too, and look at those sparrows. They seem to be in quite a hurry. As rice grains grow and begin to ripen, sparrows are naturally drawn to the fields for food. In a way, they are another little sign of the season moving forward. We've just passed Ipchun, the traditional marker of the beginning of autumn. The heat hasn't disappeared, but after some of the most extreme temperatures began to ease, the small changes in nature tell us that the seasons keep moving. From memories we carry to moments we live, Korea's August is full of stories.
Today, we meet with a Korean-American writer who is drawing attention from readers around the world by reimagining 설화 through a contemporary lens. 설화, or Korean traditional folklore, are stories passed down through generations that reflect Korea's history, beliefs, cultural values, and imagination. Angela Mi Young Hur's novel Folklore, recently published in Korean as 우리 메아리처럼, gives new voices to women from Korean myths and legends while exploring themes of reconciliation, forgiveness, and identity. We are delighted to connect with novelist Angela Mi Young Hur, whose work brings Korean culture and identity to life through literature. Welcome to the program, Angela.
Hello, Angela.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me here.
We're very happy to have you on the show. So, Angela, why don't we start with an introduction of yourself first to our global viewers?
Sure, yes. My name is Angela Mi Young Hur. I'm a Korean-American writer, editor, and teacher. I was born in Los Angeles, grew up in California, attended Phillips Academy Andover, then Harvard, then Notre Dame, where I received my MFA. I am a daughter of Korean immigrants, and I am now an immigrant mother, myself in Sweden. I have a son and daughter who are Swedish, Korean, and American. My novels, Folklore and The Loom Tree, explore generational cycles, the diaspora experience, migration, and identity, and how we pass on our stories to our children and how we interpret the stories we inherit from our parents, our ancestors, and the cultures we grow up in.
Right, and your novel Folklore was recently published in Korean, the Korean title being 우리 메아리처럼, which would translate into We Like Echoes. So could you introduce the book to our viewers in your own words?
Yes, first of all, I want to thank my publisher, Open Books, 열린 책들, and especially the amazing translator, Im Sure, for their wonderful work and support of my book in Korea. For viewers, allow me first to explain the themes. So it's about inheritance, what we inherit from our family, including history, cultural background, and generational trauma, and what we can also inherit genetically, which can include mental illness. It's about how we might resist what we inherit and how we interpret and revise that inheritance into what we need to survive, grow, and find peace. Now, in terms of the story, this is how the novel begins. A Korean-American physicist named Dr. Elsa Park is working in Antarctica. She's a researcher studying neutrinos, which are also nicknamed the ghost particle. By the way, her research is based on what my real-life Swedish physicist husband worked on for his PhD, also studying neutrinos using detectors in Antarctica. Anyway, back to the story. So Elsa Park has always focused on career success and achievement to define her, especially in the scientific world, because when she was young, her mother told her that the women in their family were cursed to repeat the life stories of their ancestors. And these ancestors were the women in Korean folktales who were sacrificed or tossed away, like Shincheong, Princess Body, and the girl melted into Emily Bell. And this Emily Bell, as Elsa remembers her mother telling her, is what opens the novel. So when Elsa's mother told her about this family curse, she thought it was evidence of mental illness, which she fears is also hereditary. She also fears the strict Korean gender expectations encoded in these stories. And so that's why she's run away from her mother, her past, and she's pursued science instead, pursuing success in the scientific world, ending up in Antarctica. But while drilling into the Antarctic ice to install detectors, Elsa hears the deep tolling of a bell down below. Moments later, she sees a woman in the distance surrounded by snow, and this woman is wearing only a ragged old sokchima. It's too small for her body, the sokchima, leaving her limbs bare. Her long black hair is braided down her back, and the ends are tied with a red ribbon, a tengi, that unfurls longer and longer across the ice. Elsa recognizes her as her imaginary friend from childhood, but she's no longer the child that Elsa imagined her as. She's now a grown woman. Elsa had banished her imaginary friend years ago when her mother was becoming more insistent about the family curse. But now at the bottom of the world, this friend has come back for Elsa, coming closer and closer while the bell's cry echoes all around. And that's how the novel opens.
Wow, I felt like I was listening to an audiobook right now, and so many interesting elements in this book, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well. But talking more obviously of folklore, now female figures from Korean folklore are portrayed as reclaiming their identities and finding their own voices. What inspired you to retell their stories in this way?
So I loved reading Korean folktales and fairy tales and myths from around the world, but I noticed some patterns that troubled me and confused me. Later on, I learned that folktales and myths have always been retold too. Of course, there's endless interpretations, but the ones that I read as a child in the 1980s, they came from a specific time and culture, and maybe they were marketed for immigrant parents to share with their children. And so what I noticed is a lot of these women were silenced and admired for enduring their suffering, or I never heard about how they felt as they experienced all these dramatic upheavals and turmoil and suffering. So what I wanted to do was interpret it for myself as a Korean American woman, especially someone who studied literature from different time periods and cultures. So I wanted to find what they were thinking and feeling. I wanted these women and girls to speak about their fears and their anger and their loneliness. So as a mother and a teacher, I teach my kids that's important that we don't just passively receive stories and culture, that we actively think about it and question and find interpretation for ourselves to connect. And that goes with how we understand ourselves and our family too.
Right, and you grew up listening to Seora or Korean folk tales such as the legend of the Emile Chung or Emile Bell and Simcheong. So what did those stories mean to you as a child?
So the Emily Bell story particularly, I knew it disturbed me because I heard it as a bedtime story. And I was really puzzled over how different a lot of the Korean stories were compared to the Western fairy tales I was reading at the time. Because the Korean stories emphasized filial duty above all, where it was about the parent-child relationship, where a lot of the European fairy tales, the happy ending was resulted in a prince and a princess being married. And so because of that, I always wondered, I thought about what was expected of me as a Korean girl, and I felt that I had to find my own interpretation. So I rewrote the stories in the voices of the girls and women. So I didn't want them, like the girl in Emily Bell, she only cries out when struck. And I knew that Simcheong had gone through so much. She met her a mother whom she believed was dead in the underwater kingdom. But why was it that it wasn't until she met her father and reunited with him that was the ending? And so I wanted to emphasize that Simcheong traveled in order to reconnect with her father, to have him hear everything she's been through, and for him to apologize, for her to forgive him. And in that, she finds her power and her healing.
Right, and is there a particular Korean folktale that you would like to introduce to, let's say, international readers who may not be familiar with Korean culture?
I think Simcheong has the most sort of various storytelling possibilities and that I've seen. And I think there's so many details that with these little changes transform the entire story. So I really recommend that story, especially if people would read multiple variations and go into the history to see how it's changed. So they can see like how is the story tweaked and changed in order to instruct and inculcate certain values in people. How is it shaped to focus on different characters? And so I think Shimcheong would be an excellent intro to Korean folklore.
Right, and it's also a very popular one. That's why we have it not only in written literature, but also in like musicals and plays as well. But Angela, when writing literature based on Seolhwa, how did you navigate the emotional and cultural differences between the original stories and maybe your own perspective? And did you face any challenges in choosing the right language to convey elements of these traditional stories?
Right. So these folk tales are very elastic and they're used as metaphors. And so the symbolism is so rich. So it wasn't about being faithful to the original, and that's not possible because there are so many variants in history. So instead, I use these folk tales to reflect the family story in the novel. It's primarily a family story and how the narrator comes to understand herself and her family. And so in the folk tales, the male characters are also reflect and sometimes distort the family characters. There's a father character and a brother character. So it's important for viewers to understand that it's not so much about a straight Korean retelling, but how do you use these folktales in order to explore diaspora and the specific psychological traumas of these family members.
Now, although you were born and raised in the United States, Korean culture and stories are the heart of your work. How does your Korean culture heritage influence your creative process?
I think it's a huge influence, and I was thinking about this when I think because growing up as an immigrant, all the culture I received from Korea is sort of filtered through my parents or the immediate community that surrounded us. So it's very limited by a certain generation and a group of people. And a wider understanding I would have gone through books and movies, but translating to English. And so there's a constant process of trying to understand what does it mean? What is the ideal Korean woman? What does Korean culture represent? There's an active process of cultural translation. And so I think in that process, it is a very creative thing because you're trying to understand it. And right now, cultural translation is still a big part of my life because living in Sweden as a parent, I try to impart what I find beautiful and important from my American upbringing. And then also teach my kids to draw from all the cultural experiences we have living in Sweden. I want them to have a connection to the Korean heritage. And so all of that requires an active processing and a cultural translation as we build our identities and understand that they are ever evolving. And so I think because of that, being an act of creation, it definitely powers and feeds my writing.
Right. And before we let you go, Angela, Korean culture is enjoying tremendous global popularity through K-pop and K-dramas. I don't know how it is in Sweden right now, but do you think literature can also become an important part of Hallyu?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it already is. Here in Sweden, too, and of course in the US, literature, Korean literature and Korean American literature are so important and dynamic and vibrant. There's so many who are much more successful and important than I am, which is why I am so grateful for the reception my book has had here. And I feel really fortunate that even though I'm retelling Korean folklore for my specific Korean American family story, that Korean readers have found something fresh and different and illuminating in my own folklore retelling. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
And Angela, we are grateful for this interview today with you. Thank you very much for sharing your story and, of course, for sharing the traditional Korean stories to the world in this unique, creative way. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. And thank you, Walter. As always, we're going to have you back here soon.
See you soon.
Thanks for watching and your interest in everything K-culture. Please tune in again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Korea time. Keep diving.